This is my 1982 Toyota pickup that I actually bought from a lady on Craigslist for just $800. Now, the funny story behind this truck is that I was originally heading out to this lady's house to check out a dirt bike, specifically this 1984 Honda XR100, which you'll probably see in later episodes of Cars and Chaos. Now, I haven't done a whole lot to this truck since I got it. I just fixed a few small things, like it needed a battery, new alternator, and the timing was just awful. After all that, though, it ran pretty well. Until the entire motor decided to completely self-destruct. I'm talking bearings, head gasket, the timing chain ate through the water pump. It was bad. So I decided to yank out the motor right then and there and just rebuild it. But after a little research, I found out it'd probably be a little more cost-effective if I just bought a brand new rebuilt motor. So I searched around and found Dave's Off-Road Performance in Georgetown, California, ordered up one of his motors, and about a month later he had the motor built and it was ready for pickup. Now all I had to do was strip the old motor of everything, bring it down to a bare block, strap it to a pallet, and get it ready for the core trade-in. Once we finally got the motor loaded up, it was time to hit the road. The drive up to Sacramento is just beautiful. There's tons of things to do, tons of things to see. We actually saw these bitchin' hot rod looking mini bikes about halfway up. But after all was said and done and 8 hours of driving, it was finally nice to check into the motel and get some sleep. The next morning, I had breakfast, checked out of the room, and headed straight for Georgetown. Going through the canyon to get to Dave's was truly beautiful. There was a big river next to the road. We were going underneath all of these old railroad bridges. It was cool. I pulled right up to Dave's and was so excited to see the brand new motor was sitting there right in front of his shop, ready to go. We got the old motor off the truck and loaded on the new motor. Dave gave me one of his coveted Dave's Off-Road Performance t-shirts, and we hit the road and cannonballed straight back to LA. The very first thing I did when I got home was get the motor out of the truck. Now, I can't tell you how good this thing looked, but the one thing I wanted more than just a motor was a running motor. So I wasted no time and started the build. I've been working on the motor here for a few days, kind of off and on, and just need a few more parts to go on it, like the water pump and a couple of other small stuff, and then once I get that all taken care of, I can get this thing thrown into the truck. After a few headaches and many trips to the parts store later, the motor was finally ready to be thrown into the truck. I'm going to try and swing it out and in as I lower it. Hopefully we'll... So I basically have to adjust how this motor is going to sit on this on the hoist here, so I can actually get it to clear the clutch into the transmission, which means I have to pull it out and start over. So I'm currently trying to jack up the transmission a little bit to have it align with the motor with a jack that's too small and a couple of bricks and a cinder block because I don't have any wood to do that. So I'm hoping that I don't break the transmission or smash through the cinder blocks and have the transmission fall on my head. Oh, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Come on. Yes! There we go. I am calling a victory. Small victory, but a victory. It's been 3 months in the making, just scraping together the money needed for the parts and a lot of cut up and bleeding knuckles. But it's finally done, and it's a force to be reckoned with. So it would only be fitting to take this thing and hit the dirt right after I got it broken in. So the problem with this truck is that it has a bump stop both front and rear that only gives it 2 inches of suspension travel. So it's not the ideal truck for this, but it does okay. It's pretty bouncy, kind of a rough ride, but it's fun. That's what matters, it's fun. Just gonna gauge the 4-wheel drive. Oh, low range. Isn't it a beautiful thing? Now, like I said earlier, it makes things a little difficult when you only have 2 inches of travel in your truck. But we're going to try our luck on this stuff right here. Now, what you really don't see through the camera is just how rough this stuff really is. I mean, it was giving my 2 inches of suspension travel a run for its money.
That low range doesn't slip out.
Oh shit. Nope. Nope, not doing that either. Yet. Not until I get a little better at this 4-wheeling stuff. Oh shit. This is gonna roll. Backing up. Backing up. Backing up, backing up. Holy shit. I cannot see a damn thing.
If you can't do it forwards, do it backwards.
So we ended up chickening out on the 4-wheel trails, so we're just gonna pull the dirt bikes off and have a little fun. Oh, look at that. There's a snake right there. Yeah, he broke down. See what happened. Shit. Well, let's just ditch the bike somewhere and then we'll just go 4-wheeling again.
Okay. Both of them?
Yeah.
Should I just ride it back?
So there's tailpipe, there's muffler. Muffler is supposed to be connected to tailpipe, but it's not anymore. Now, I know you can ride a dirt bike without a muffler, but I didn't really want to piss anyone off, and I wanted to get the truck back out on the trails without the dirt bikes in the back. And before anybody says anything about my lack of driving skills, I had never driven off-road before. Now, in an effort to redeem myself after my miserable failure the first time, we actually made it all the way up to the top without the dirt bikes in the back, and once we were there, we actually were able to get a little bit of rock crawling in. Unfortunately, though, the camera died before we had a chance to get footage of it, but I don't care. What matters is that all my hard work has finally paid off. 3 months of wrenching and trying to pull every penny together to make this thing happen, and now I have a beastly first-gen Toyota that anyone would be proud of.